She did what I want all cisgender people to do when they mess up. You acknowledge that you did something wrong. You say, I understand what's going on. And you do the right thing, which she did.
Such things, rightly or wrongly, send me into a spiral of misery and depression that lasted 3 days.
You should not be wearing that in the United States of America.
Okay.
Are you a citizen?
Yes, I am a citizen.
Are you a United States citizen?
Can you please get away from me?
Then you should not be
Can
wearing
you please get away from me?
Little dinosaur was a homophobe, and a gay little dinosaur came and wanted to play. That homophobic dinosaur said, "Get the fuck away."
Hi, welcome to Last Man on Earth. My name is Lex Durgan, as always, I'm flanked by Matt Ralston. Matt's been extra busy of late planning his LeBron James Welcome to Los Angeles party. Imagine LeBron's surprise when he shows up at Matt's place to realize it's just he and Matt, vanilla-scented candles, and slow jam mixtape. Talk about building a dream team. Matt, are you excited LeBron's coming to town?
I'm excited because the Kobe weird fanboy,
yes.
Essentially rape endorsers are pissed off because LeBron's obviously Kobe's not in the top 10 by any stretch.
Wait, I know you hated Kobe. How do you feel about LeBron?
I've always liked LeBron. I think I don't understand why people hate him. I mean, he obviously has some sort of an ego, but
yes.
He's also probably the best athlete in the world. So like, I would challenge you to say, like, your average guy that talks shit about LeBron James, if you were the best athlete in the world, I guarantee you would be much more of an asshole than LeBron James is.
Oh, I'm not even a good athlete. I'm a much bigger asshole. If I could dunk, I would just dunk over everybody all the time, constantly, in pickup games and point to them in your face.
He does annoying stuff, but, like, I don't understand and I'm also not going to become a Lakers fan, mostly because I don't want to be looked at as, a Johnny-come-lately, but why do people hate the guy? He's never been in trouble with the law. He speaks out selectively on social issues. He seems to be a reasonable person.
I don't have a problem. I mean, he's got the pouty face thing going on and the angry little thing, bitchy
no,
face.
He's a passive aggressive.
But every single NBA player has that.
Right.
They're all the same. No, I think he's actually. I would say he's the best player ever. As even a Warrior fan, I don't disagree with that.
I think Jordan's probably. I don't think he's past Jordan yet.
But individually, as just the talent, the basketball talent of what he can do.
Yeah.
I've just never seen a big guy move like that before. I mean, the guy's enormously strong.
Yeah, he's huge.
Jordan was a finesse player. LeBron is just a fucking powerhouse player.
And how many times does it work out? Like, I remember him being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and he was like 17 or 18 years old, and it was like the next coming. How often does that actually work out?
Right.
Never.
No.
He actually lived up to the expectations and probably surpassed them.
He clearly hasn't fucked up with. He works hard. He hasn't fucked around with his body. He hasn't made a lot of mistakes. He hasn't got arrested, like you said. He doesn't do dumb shit. I'm sure he's had a few ladies give him babies and stuff, but nothing too bad.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's actually takes it very. He obviously hits the weight room. I can see that.
He's married to a chick that he met in high school. How fucking often does she wake up and thank her fucking lucky stars?
Yeah, I mean, well, not when he's on top of her, probably with her fucking brow, that giant recessive brow. Here's what
I mean, he's not an attractive man. I guess we can agree on that.
No, I was thinking about LeBron a lot this week because I was looking at Serena Williams. And they really remind me of
Pretty
one
much
another.
the same guy.
Did you watch Wimbledon? I don't know why.
No, I didn't watch Wimbledon. Is
I
that
don't
a
know.
serious question?
ESPN ran during Wimbledon, I don't know if they had the covers, they ran 75 puff pieces on Serena Williams as a mother and athlete. Mm-hmm. And not a single one nothing ever mentions about Serena Williams as twice the size of all her competitors. I mean, LeBron's stronger than any NBA player,
yeah,
but he's not twice as strong as any NBA player. He is unusually strong, but like by 10%. By 10%,
no,
she's
enormous.
She is fucking enormous.
Yeah, I really think that, and people have said that this is racist, and it's not. I think that her father gave them hormones when they were young.
Oh yeah,
because if you look at her body, it like you said, you ever met a woman that has biceps
twice
the size of yours?
Her traps are enormous. And now that she had the baby, her body just got bigger with baby stuff. Baby stuff. So now she just looks even. I mean, she put on like 20 pounds of probably fat on top of that. So now she just looks like
So what does she weigh? How tall is she? Like
5'10", I think. 5'9", 5'10". Her sister's taller, I think. She's maybe 5'9".
Dude, I sat next to her on a plane.
Yeah, she's big.
And I was like, I'm sorry, that's not genetically a woman.
But nobody will. All they talk about is like her motherhood and how recovery and how she almost died. Like, I love the story. She almost died during giving birth. Like
that's 1912.
Like that's the thing. Like their stories, like she almost died giving birth. Like, you know how many rich celebrities die giving birth every year? Zero. Actually, the number is completely zero. It's so fucking stupid. I just want someone to say like, obviously she's advantaged by her
squeezing a baby out of her penis, though.
Yes.
So that's
just one person to say like, obviously Serena's a great tennis player and advantaged by the fact she has 40% more muscle mass than anyone else on the female tour.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Well, I don't agree with women's sports, and this will never become an issue as far as I know, but if you're a true feminist and you believe in equality, you should compete against. There should not be a separate category.
Well, she offered to, but then everyone kind of admitted that she would be able to play. Even with her strength, it's still lady strength. But I think even if a guy,
she would be the 300th best player at being generous.
I think even if a guy like a brute, just a brute muscle brute guy played tennis, people would point out all the time how strong that guy was. Right? They'd mention it as a guy. If some muscle-bound guy played tennis and like was whacking the crap out of the ball, it would come up.
But he couldn't. He wouldn't be able to move laterally.
No, I know.
I think tennis actually benefits women because usually when you watch a woman play a sport, they look retarded, and you're like, you shouldn't be doing that, like basketball. But I think tennis actually, it's an interesting thing when you watch tennis, they look like they can do it. Like, and I think it's because of the hip ratio that women are able to move laterally.
Yes. But the ball's not going as fast. It's not going 110 miles an hour like the men's game.
No, but when you watch a woman shoot a three-pointer, you're like, fucking stop. Like, you look like a buffoon.
And also the female matches go like an hour, but those guys, semifinals went 6 hours.
Yeah, I don't know how that...
I don't know that the women can play for 6 hours at a...
Well, they play less sets, too.
But also, they're usually not as competitive, so they usually, like Serena's matches are usually about an hour.
Right.
I couldn't see her. She couldn't, with that body size, there's no way she'd go 6 hours.
Wait, I have one other thought. First of all, fuck tennis.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to tell me, like, if I went to a tennis match and, like, I don't know, a cool play happened, I'd be like, yeah, and I'd be, like, applauding. And if someone said, like, shh, I'd be like, fuck you. Like, I will fucking fight you right now.
The only time
fucking piece of shit.
I will watch 6 hours of tennis just to watch one guy shoot between his legs. Do the shot between his legs. That's always the best.
But what's the, especially relating to LeBron and Serena, I always hear this, and I've never known what it meant. They'll say, especially in fighting and boxing, but also in basketball, they say, well, Allen Iverson was the best pound-for-pound player. I'm like, no, actually, LeBron's the best pound-for-pound player. Like, what does that like? Why? First of all, why are we quantifying it that way?
Well, I think in boxing,
like Vern Troyer may be the best fucking player of all time in that
well,
case.
He's dead now. I think in boxing it makes sense because they don't compete. You compete by weight, so you don't compete against each other in different weight categories. So to compare like Roy Jones,
which I don't agree with, by the way.
I don't agree with it either, but they do it. So like the middleweights never fight the heavyweights, therefore you can never have a straight up competition. So therefore you have to decide who's the best in each group. And they'll say Roy Jones Jr. is the best pound-for-pound fighter ever. Because, based on 160 pounds, he was the best. But he couldn't beat a guy at 220.
But there's no 80-pound category.
No,
there's no midget.
No, I've seen midgets fight for it. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest things.
All right, this week's Last Man on Earth podcast is sponsored by the upcoming Disney movie, Biceratops. Follow the adventures of Benji, an LGBTQ dinosaur searching for his true self in the Cretaceous era.
I can't even tell if you're making shit up at this point.
Biceratops will leave you questioning everything you ever knew about dinosaurs. It's my theory that, I don't know if you saw that there was a big uproar over the last Jurassic Park because there was a lesbian subplot in the movie. Like one of the female characters was lesbian, and they cut it out of the movie. At the last minute, they decided to cut the lesbian part out.
I had a bit of an uproar because I watched the movie and it sucked.
Yes.
I didn't really care about the sexual overtones.
Well, it was like one of the other things is, the studio must put a note saying, like, can we have a lesbian moment in there just to appease everybody? And they did it. Then, like, at the very end, like, whoever put it out said, no, just get rid of it. And people found out about that, and so they got really upset. So my theory is that Disney is going to make an actual just gay dinosaur movie where there's just like a heroic gay dinosaur called a Biceratops, who's just a gay striped Triceratops who just is like it doesn't fit in anywhere and has to, it'll be like the movie we're going to talk about later, Boy Erased, where eventually everyone will come around to love that.
Like
that
his
dinosaur.
back scales or whatever you call that are like rainbow color. Because
color.
no one knows what color dinosaurs were.
No, but
there's no way of actually proving that. So it could be pink.
I think they're going to have gay. I think Disney will have. I think they're actually having gay. They're having gay characters in their movies now, in their animated movies. So remember in the one Emma Watson did, the Beauty and the Beast, last one. Josh Gad played a gay character in Beauty and the Beast.
The Candlestick.
No, he wasn't. He was actually a guy, and he was played a human. But he was openly. It was mentioned that he liked other men in the movie. There was a reference to the fact that he liked other men in the movie.
Weren't they? Oh man, I'm going to sound so ignorant. They're French, right?
Yes.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
French?
you can't tell they're.
Yeah, all those guys are.
Yes, but there's actually going to be, when they start making animated movies soon, they'll actually be openly gay animated animals who will just be gay dogs or gay lions.
You know what sucked about that Jurassic Park? Not the lesbian subplot,
Everything.
but yeah, everything. I went to see it. My friend actually does the what do you call it, CGI.
Yeah.
And so she goes to watch the movie, and she knows it sucks, but so they had the one dinosaur that was like an experiment, and then at the end, it escaped and fought another dinosaur.
Yes.
But they were like the same dinosaur. Like they looked exactly the same. So it's like, well, why? First of all, why did you take a risk developing this new dinosaur when you already had? Like, I don't think you're attracting new customers or patrons. And secondly, I don't know if they got lazy, but it just looked like the same dinosaur.
I think I can't tell. It's like the same thing when I watch like Chariots of Fire. It's all British people. I can't tell the characters apart. All British people look alike to me. I have to admit, I have no idea. They're all the blonde ones, especially, look alike to me.
Dude, I can tell if someone's with few exceptions. I don't know what it is, but I can tell if someone is European just by looking at their face.
Yeah, I can pretty much.
The Americans have a more refined. It's muddled more,
I can tell that the Russian girls in porn right away.
Yeah,
They have that sort of sunken eye, like sort of Siberian look going on.
yeah, like big jaw.
Didn't get enough calcium, perhaps, as children kind of look. I mean, also they're 90% of the porn actresses, but also there's something about the Russian porn stars that they don't speak. They also don't speak very much.
But there's also a very if you look at Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson.
Yes.
You could.
Looks very
I know what his voice is going to sound like before I hear him talk.
I thought he doesn't talk. I thought that was his whole shtick.
Well, I know, but he does have a British accent.
Do not forget to become a patron of the show on patreon.com/lastminuteearth. It's growing leaps and bounds. Thanks to all our new patrons. Get on this shit now before it disappears. I'm going to lock it down soon. Pretty soon I'm cutting off any more patrons. So it's going to be like this thing I always wonder, like at the hospitals or museums, we put the list of people who donated. Like if they run out of space, and then what if the guy is a big donor, then someone comes and puts more money in? Do they just create a new font size and put it over the other person? It seems kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I was.
They chisel their names in, so they can't really take them off.
Is it I think this is a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, so it's not a very original thought, but isn't it kind of a dick move to be anonymous?
When you donate?
Yeah.
Well, it is considered the highest form of charity, Matt, to be an anonymous donor, because you receive no esteem or prestige for your donation.
Well, if we're talking efficiency, though, dude, someone's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
well, who's an anonymous donor? There's no anonymous hospital. There's not, it's always called. Every hospital in LA has a name in front of it. It's all Spielberg. Spielberg runs a lot of hospitals in this town.
All right. Another thought is, so the healthcare industry is probably one of the top employers of in any given city. It's
yes.
Healthcare is a very big field. I don't understand how the hot nurse thing came about, because I've sort of been on these dating sites, and if it's a nurse, I'm like, absolutely not. You wipe old people's asses. That's gross. You're kind of gross. I don't understand how that became a trope.
Well, I don't think there actually are hot nurses. Are you saying there are no hot nurses? You're saying even hot nurses are not hot to you because they change bedpans?
Both. Yeah. Obviously, there's no. There's not the hot blonde nurse. They're 40-year-old Filipino chicks that are 50 pounds overweight. But even if they're is occasionally a hot nurse. She's not hot to me because I'm picturing her day-to-day life.
I actually had a female roommate who went to nursing school, and when her friends came over, it was very disappointing. Very disappointing. I was just like, should I invite my nurse friends over? I'm like, yeah. And then when they showed up, it was kind of like, no.
Well,
no.
don't they all have like PTSD? I mean, could you imagine, like, if I worked a day in the life of a nurse, I would get home and sob uncontrollably.
Yes.
And probably drink myself into a coma. Like, I don't understand how they're dealing with this all day. Like, oh, this homeless guy came in and maggots were eating his foot off, and then I had lunch. Like, what? How?
There's only one nurse stereotype that actually holds, and it's the saucy black nurse who dominates the whole place, and like nothing phases her whatsoever. Like the maggots, she just tell people to she yelled at the maggots to go away. So that's the only one. I think that's the only stereotype.
See, I would be friends with her, but sexually, I wouldn't be into it.
Yeah. Also, I think you're getting all your tropes from porn. So I think you need to be careful of believing real life comes from porn.
Well, it's clearly like fetishized. Like, I'm assuming that it comes from like the World War II era. So some old guy is like laid up and he develops a crush on the nurse. But that was back probably when they had like one nurse per person.
Well, that's when all the pretty girls had to be nurses until they got married.
And hot chicks worked.
Yes.
Which they don't now.
If you wish to contact the show, hit us up on Twitter at Last Minute Podcast or Facebook, also Last Minute Podcast. All right, on to the show. Matt, something you and I disagree on right off the bat, Sacha Baron Cohen. First of all, I want to say I just don't like British people anymore in general. I'm just sick of British people.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, so I think anything I say negatively against him is also the fact that...
It's basically a first strike.
Yes, it's the first strike. Also, like 3 or 4 of his movies are the second strike because he made Borat like 5 times, just giving it a different name over and over again.
Yeah, it became like it was so obvious that he was trying to shock humor. Like I think I walked out of Bruno
when he was talking with his penis opening, slit in his penis.
Yeah, that's actually when I left.
Yeah, it's just like
not that I'm homophobic. It's just
it's not funny.
It's uncomfortable.
No, that's just not. It wasn't funny anymore.
How was that even approved, by the way?
I don't know, but the whole thing was how gross and homophobic and everything his movies were. And after a while, and that was 10, 12 years ago, he didn't seem to develop a new shtick at all. Like he's still doing the same thing. And he was supposed to play Freddie Mercury in the Queen movie.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
Yeah, but I thought he might have been good at that because he does the gay kind of like effeminate thing very well.
He looks exactly like Freddie Mercury.
And he's skinny and does like the sort of effeminate guy thing pretty well.
Yeah.
But so his new show, Who is America, which is on Showtime, all the cable companies are trying to get as politically progressive as possible, as fast as possible for whatever reason. Netflix, I think, is just giving out shows to anyone who knows Sarah Silverman at this point, like friend Sarah Silverman. But his new show is about him dressing up again as like some foreigner, and he always has the same accent no matter what country he's from. And his costumes aren't even very good, by the way. I mean, I don't know if people... I don't know if people like don't look at him and go like, dude, you're wearing a fake mustache and like a hairpiece and your accent is horrible. Like, how do people not know he's like a phony?
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. It's like I rewatched that movie Brokeback Mountain. Have I talked about this before?
No,
so it's called Brokeback Mountain, which is essentially a gay porn title.
Yes.
But in the movie, Jake Gyllenhaal was like praised for his brave performance. He's wearing like the most obvious fake mustache.
Yes.
That's not even necessary.
And then when he gets older, it's like really bad.
Like you can see the glue.
Yes.
And
and I think they give him a fat suit, I think, towards the end too.
Yeah.
Like he puts on 30 pounds, they put the fat little thing.
Dude, if I walked in here and granted, I haven't like looked directly into your eyes. If you were wearing an obvious fake mustache, I'd be like, why don't you take that off?
Right.
Like,
which may be why Sacha Baron Cohen can only fool people like Sarah Palin and other people who aren't particularly smart.
Sarah Palin's an idiot.
She is an idiot. And basically everybody he gets on his...
And she's a bigot, by the way.
And she's a bigot, and she's a twat and everything else. But I don't see... My problem with
Glenn Rice.
That was her high point.
I know. I'm saying that's...
She got to go for Glenn Rice.
I respect that.
Glenn Rice Jr. now.
He could stroke it.
He was great. My problem with what he does is not, who he picks on, or even it's kind of funny. He gets like them to say like 4-year-olds should have guns or 3-year-olds should have guns or...
This year, in our state government, they had a bill put in that would have made it illegal for someone 4 years old to 12 years old to have access to a gun. We killed the bill.
They tried to stop 4-year-old children from having access to guns?
Yes.
What is the logic that these people come up with?
Stuff like that. It's kind of amusing what he gets these dumb people to say. But at the same point, they are like dumb people. He's not.
Well, he's not picking on your average dumb person that's hanging outside the 7-Eleven. This is a governor of a state who almost became the vice president.
Yeah, but
like,
they're all.
It's not like she's he's not picking on a random person.
I guess what I'm saying is, we're going to talk later about like the drunk old guys in the parks who say shit about like blacks and Latinos. It's like they're not represent. I mean, yeah, she was. I agree that it was scary. She was almost the vice president of the country. That was incredibly scary. Mm-hmm. But like, it's not like he's like delving into the intelligentsia and like revealing some sort of hypocrisy people aren't aware of. Yeah, he's finding like right wing loons who are like gun nuts, and then get him to say nutty things about guns.
Well, I guess I disagree because I think that I often don't realize, like, Sarah Palin's not a fucking Fulbright scholar, but you also might forget how frightening it is that she led, in theory, was in charge of a state. And
your state, as a matter of fact.
My state, yes. A good 8-hour drive from Fairbanks. And she might be considered mentally retarded. It goes, like, I don't know. I'm always amazed. Like George Carlin said, you think of how stupid the average person is, and half the people are stupider than that. Yes. And it's funny, and I always think about it because it's true. I mean, people are not.
They're dumb, but I mean,
there's a huge variance between, like, I don't think that I'm hyper intelligent, but I know that I'm so much smarter than a lot of people I talk to.
But so, like, if you're like a comedian and you're like picking on the idiot in the crowd, it's kind of amusing to me, but it's not that amusing, right? Because like, you got some idiot saying stupid things, and it's kind of amusing. But picking on dumb people to me has never been. I don't find that funny because I think like, okay, they're dumb, so the bar is so fucking low.
But isn't it like a farce that woman? Yes. There's only 50 governors.
I agree.
She became a governor.
I believe there's a lot of idiot governors, but yeah, she's probably one of the worst. So I mean, Jerry Brown believes that Jesus talks to him, so there is that. I mean, you could go to any governor; they're all going to be fucking idiots. And
Jerry Brown would run circles around that
probably.
woman.
But I guess the point of the comedy for me is that it's not as funny because he's finding old twisted idiots and like getting them to like believe he's not wearing a mustache and a wig, and then talking about like arming 3-year-olds.
Well, dude, it's like my.
I can find a nut. You can find a nut in any corner to like believe anything.
Here's the thing, man. If you show up, do you know how uncultured you have to be? I'm not saying Sacha Baron Cohen is like the pinnacle of art or media, but if you show up and you're not like, oh, it's Borat.
Yes.
That means that you don't consume media. That means that you're not just ignorant to it.
He's not fresh on the scene, by the way. He's been around for 20 years doing the same thing.
Dude, when I'm sure I've told this story before, but it always fucking fucks with my head. I was watching Oprah accidentally when I was like 10 years old. And Oprah had the things that you need to buy, which she then promotes on her own website. So one of them was a bagel slicer. So, like, I'm sure you've heard this talking point, but one of the largest causes of emergency room visits is slicing a bagel because they're kind of hard and people.
I've seen someone cut their hand open cutting a bagel.
Personally.
Yeah.
Yes. So
after telling the guy that he's going to cut his hand open and him saying no.
Really?
Yeah, he did the thing where he held it in his hand and he cut it towards his hand.
And it sliced his thumb open. It
sliced his whole palm open.
So you've seen the things in like your average craft table where they have essentially a little bin, like a guillotine. So Oprah was like, buy that. And then, so I didn't watch that episode. I watched the episode after that, and she was like, oh, I got so many emails. So Oprah said, you guys know, basically so many of our viewers didn't know what a bagel is. And like, I'm not saying you have to be a Jew or like you even have to eat bagels, because I don't think they're very healthy. But to not know what a bagel is inexcusable. And that's the caliber of person that we're dealing with.
Yes, they're idiots. I would like to see him. His bar is all low hanging fruit, and I don't think he's opening anybody's eyes to anything. So I would just like to see satire rise to a higher level. I think he's an intelligent guy. He probably has a little bit more in him than what he's doing. And I don't give a shit what he does, but mostly I just hate British comedians. Why every single late night show has to be a British comedian commenting on America and how stupid America is.
Dude,
instinctively I just want to defend America.
Well, the only Americans we have are the SNL anchors, Colin Jost and Michael Che. Everyone else who are, talented people, but Jim, what's the British guy on HBO?
John Oliver, Jim
Jeffries,
Trevor Noah.
Well, I have a theory on it. Is that you have to hear it from a different voice, because if I just went and explained to you how fucked up shit is, you'd just be like, I think you just tune out.
But I would offer that there are probably no American comedians on late night British television making fun of all the British problems.
Well, they have state-run TV, so yeah.
Well, they have Sky, have other shit like that, but there's no like guy making fun of their teeth over there. That's just not something they're gonna tune into.
Well, I don't really care enough. There is what's the comedian? I'm spacing on it. There's a guy that went to the Netherlands, and he's an American, and he's like the biggest celebrity.
Oh, really?
In Tom.
Does he rip on Dutch people?
Yeah, I think so. But he's like, they find it amusing because he's like an American. Hold on, let me.
I feel like this is one of those things where it's in house. Like you can like make fun of your own family, but you don't get to make fun of other people's families. I feel like we need someone who has like some skin in the game to be making fun of America. Sacha Baron Cohen is just another in the long line of British people who come to America. Usually marry hot American girls and then make fun of America a lot.
Tom Rhodes is his name. Sorry. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Alaska, so I've never subscribed to a lot of this rah shit. So I don't really care.
Going door to door for Governor Palin. Have you heard about Sarah Palin? Do you have 5 minutes to talk about Sarah Palin?
Dude, I used to go to basketball camp, and it like.
Why don't you have sex with you?
She was just a slut.
Why don't you have sex with you? That's horrible.
Because she's a lot older. I wasn't killing it like I am
now. All right, Matt, we got an email from Evan. I know you love open letters. I love open letters to newspapers because open letter is basically saying, like, absolutely nobody asked me to write this or cared that I wrote this.
Yeah, I don't even understand what it means.
Open letter means nobody wanted this.
I'm not getting paid.
I'm not getting paid, but it also means like nobody asked me to do this, which is it sort of implies that nobody wanted it. Like it's so important. Even though not a single person asked me for it, I've decided to write an open letter. So there's an open letter by the Me Too various victims of Harvey Weinstein and other Me Too victims.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who wrote this?
It was written by Rose McGowan, Mira Sorvino, a bunch of other women in the Harvey Weinstein.
Mira Sorvino got fucked over.
Yes, she did.
Anyway, sorry.
And then, of course, Terry Crews, because it's all the Me Too assault victims. Right. They wrote an actual open letter in the Times, which will publish anything if celebrities write it.
Wait, how does that work? Is it like a Google Doc? Like, how did 3 people write a
No, like 20 people. Someone wrote it, and they were signed by 25.
Oh, they like signed it.
They signed written people. I don't know who actually wrote it. But it was in defense of, is it Asia or Aja Argento? I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's spelled Asia, but I assume it's pronounced in a much more European
I've heard
way.
it pronounced Aja, but...
So so she's the Italian actress.
By the way, did her dad, who's the most famous director of the country that she's from, he never heard of the continent Asia? Did he think people would say it differently for some reason?
I have no idea. But she was born to be an indie actress in Italy. And she was also dating Anthony Bourdain in the last year or two of his life.
How do you date a guy that's on the road 380 days of the year?
I don't know.
How does that work?
I don't know. I think you do a lot of tweeting and
sexting,
Instagram back and forth, and then you meet in New York every now and then in between takes. So she after Anthony Bourdain died, and people started blaming her. A number of trolls on Twitter I don't know why you call them trolls, but they had this theory, because I had this similar theory. I don't feel like a troll. Was that she at least had some responsibility for his death? Not that he wasn't suicidal for like the last 20 years, but that at the moment he killed himself was partly because of all the drama in his life that he was having with her. You mentioned before the show that she was seeing other men.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm not a tabloid guy, but I happen to read up on this. Long story short, he was obsessed with her.
Yes.
He was lonely in hotel rooms, probably sleeping 2 hours a night. And she posted a photo with a guy she was fucking, and that upset him. And so all his friends were like, "Yo, this is not a healthy situation." Then she removed the photo after he killed himself with a bathrobe,
very tasteful
belt.
We're still not sure how that
I don't
happened.
know how that's possible.
Yes.
And then 2 weeks later, she reposted the photo and removed it again. Anyway, point being, he was none too happy that she was fucking other guys. He doesn't have time to fuck chicks.
No.
Who's he fucking? The Armenian tour guide? Give me a fucking
Isn't it
break.
weird? Can you imagine being 60 and being that obsessed with a woman, though? Like, it just seems like it's like a young man's thing is to have some weird obsessions.
I'm going to be
with
40 in 4 years. I guarantee you I'll
still be obsessed.
Feel the same way as I do now.
Really? That seems like a very fragile place to be at 60 when you're a successful guy. You could
Well,
probably
he's also shooting testosterone directly into his veins. You
yeah,
have to,
but he would not have trouble getting women, of course. So it seems like an odd thing for a 6-year-old celebrity to be obsessed with some.
I happen to be watching. I think it was called No Reservation. It's the same show basically, and it was like a really old episode. It was like grainy video.
Yes.
I don't know why it was on TV, but he was like not in great. He didn't have guns.
No.
You know.
Oh, you're talking about he was like pre-Sean Penn then?
He was a little chubby.
Yes.
Like
he's a food guy, and he's also an alcoholic, and he also travels a lot and lives in hotels.
Well, I would like to know how you then become super jacked.
He went through the Sean Penn conversion program, where at 50 you suddenly start getting really tan. You have to tan your skin because it makes your skin weird when you take that HGH.
Yeah, so as an Irish guy, I'm fucked because I can't
Yes.
I can't get tan.
Well, they
like
spray
that.
tan. Those guys spray tan. I see these guys at the gym, and they're like, when you get older and your skin gets whatever the word, crepey or whatever the word is, and so you start building muscle mass, your skin gets really like all these striation lines in it.
Yeah.
Because you have older skin, but bulging with muscle, so they all get spray tan to hide those lines.
Well, if I walked in here,
so they all have the hair implants,
even buffer than I am now.
Yes. Yes.
Well, his hairline.
Yes.
I've actually like whenever I watch the show, I just stare at the hairline,
Yes.
and I think that's actually just a God-given gift.
You think so?
Yeah.
Usually these guys in their late 50s have the hair implants, the spray tan, and the really big forearms and muscles. And just they look like some guy like posing in a muscle fitness magazine, but like an old guy. It's just a weird thing going on.
I'm trying to think of even Sean Penn sort of has like an olive complexion. Is there maybe Dolph Lundgren?
Have you seen Dennis Quaid in the last few years?
Well, only while he was doing meth on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, he was. No, you're thinking about Randy Quaid.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah, Dennis.
Sorry, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis will routinely come out of Redondo Beach, out of the water from surfing. He's like close to 60 now, just ripped, just completely ripped. I mean, like 6-pack, tight muscles, like just coming out with big head of hair, like coming out of the water, like at 60, like it could be 20.
Well, I mean, you're looking at me right now, like I don't know why I'm like indulging myself in this, but I don't think I'm going to go bald.
No.
So
but I think the drugs actually make your hair fall out.
Oh.
The testosterone makes you go bald. So I think they have to get the hair plugs too. Guys with high testosterone actually go bald earlier than guys with low testosterone.
Yeah, I think yeah.
That's why a lot of athletes with high testosterone lose their hair.
Like LeBron.
Oh my God,
again.
he lost it like at 12.
Dude, did you see the Sprite commercial that they were running during the NBA Finals?
Yes.
They put him in like a uniform, and I guarantee you that someone was like, "We have to put a hat on him."
Yes.
So like, how do we like make that work? So they developed the entire series or concept around him wearing a hat. So he was like a race car driver, which made no sense whatsoever.
Just imagine how much like the actual amount of testosterone that flowed through his body during like puberty. It must have been like some record level. To get to be that size and like that muscle mass, it must have had just been like it would be the same as like a guy just injecting vial after vial of testosterone into himself, but his body was producing it naturally.
Right.
And then he just lost his hair by 20. He just started going at 20. He just
But
started
like,
losing his hair.
Granted, so he has kind of like, and again, based on the testosterone, it's not a coincidence, like a very prominent brow.
Yes.
But like, why would you care? Like, if I was making $300 million a year,
yes,
and was considered the best athlete in the world, I wouldn't. Why don't you just shave your head? Like, guys must be so attached to their hair.
It's a hard thing to lose. It's a hard thing to lose, man. It's. I think they see it as part of their masculinity. Speaking, by the way, of really sorry people, as an off out of context thing, you know, DeMar DeRozan got traded today.
No, I didn't know that.
He got traded. Toronto got Kawhi Leonard.
What?
Yes.
Oh shit.
And they traded DeMar DeRozan and some other guy to the Spurs. And DeRozan went on all these social media rants about how he was backstabbed by Toronto and there was no loyalty in this game and stuff like that.
Oh, maybe don't suck in the playoffs.
Well, all I was thinking was like, oh, dude, you have to go play for Popovich and make $28 million next year in San Antonio. That really is. I mean, man, no one's got it worse. No one's got it worse than you do. I mean, that's your big like 5-tweet rant about like that's how bad your life is.
Yeah, I don't get how you could even talk shit. First of all, you know it's the business. It's nothing personal.
Yeah, and you're going to a good basketball team with a good basketball city with a great coach. And by the way, you make $28 million a year guaranteed for the next 3 years each.
I don't know why, honestly, Toronto did that because Kawhi's not going to re-sign with Toronto.
They're going for a push next year for just to try and win 1 year. I don't know. They got the new coach. Why did they fire their coach after they made the finals for the first time in so many years?
Well, I think probably what happened is, so Kawhi, this is a very interesting story.
He may not want to go, by the way. He has no choice.
Yeah, well, he's faking an injury basically, and like, and I'm like a union guy. Like I think, you know, I believe in collective bargaining and whatnot. I don't get how he was getting paid
by faking an injury.
Yeah, I'd be like, fuck off.
They could have not paid him. The same thing happened when like Madison Bumgarner last year went dirt biking and broke his shoulder. They didn't have to pay him if they didn't want to, because he's not allowed to ride dirt bikes as part of the contract.
I didn't know that, but I'm now a huge fan of Madison.
Yes,
what's his name?
Bumgarner, the pitcher.
Bumgarner.
He makes $20 million a year, and he missed almost the entire season from his cracking his clavicle, doing something that in the contract clearly says you are not allowed to ride dirt bikes. And so they would have been a union argument, but they could have fined him like $10-12 million.
Do you think he's just super aloof, or he was like, I'm going to break this rule?
Oh, he didn't give a shit. Because
Yeah,
they know at the end of the day, if you're a star player, they're not going to fine the team's not going to fine you because they want you to be happy. But Kawhi Leonard, they said actually the fines in the NBA is if he doesn't play and he's healthy, doesn't play, he loses 1/82nd of his whole paycheck every game he misses.
Yeah.
So if he actually sits out and says I ain't going to play for Toronto, he can lose all $20 million.
Well, I mean, I guess it gets kind of convoluted because he essentially found a quack doctor.
Yes.
That would agree with his own diagnosis, which I could do that too, by the way. Like right now. But
I assume if they made the trade, there must have been some physical done to like get his medical condition.
Well, I think that's why maybe he didn't go to the Lakers, because when you do a trade, they're going to be like, so I guess I'm contradicting myself now, but if they're like, you know, we need to see his physical, and like maybe there is a problem. Maybe.
Although it's his contract year, obviously, so he has every incentive to play well this year. If he like is a huge push this whole year,
guarantee you he'll be out there.
Yeah, it'd be a push. Let me ask you about this open letter, the Me Too victims open letter about Asia Argento, who I believe actually pushed Anthony Bourdain into his bathrobe belt death because she's just so fucking morbid. She and Rose McGowan talking about rape all the time. By the end, if you look at the interviews of Bourdain in the last couple weeks of his life, always talking about his Harvey Weinstein and Bill Clinton and sex assault and rape and women being.
He got on the Me Too.
Very dark, very, very dark, morose shit. If you're already like kind of suicidal, I think that's what pushed him over. But who is there any reason to engage Twitter trolls? By the way, on a story that after a week and a half has started to die already, and now you put the open letter out just to reopen. I mean, the one thing you have to know is you don't engage people online, trolls online.
Wait, who's the victim of the trolls? I'm sorry.
The Asia Argento. All the trolls were like pestering her about killing Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, because she was fucking other guys, and he was alone in a hotel room looking at her Instagram page, and that's probably when he decided to
or because they're trolls,
grab that bathrobe belt.
Or because they're just trolls and they spotted an opening and she was getting upset about it. They're like
I don't
bullies.
think troll is a legit term anymore. Like, what does that mean? That's just someone that disagrees with you?
Well, if you say
it's like, oh, there's like 20 million trolls. Like, no, I think that's just like public opinion.
I would say it's fair to say troll is someone who's going like, Aja, you killed Anthony Bourdain, you killer. That's kind of trolling, basically.
But if enough people are doing it, I think that ceases to be a troll.
If you have a point, if you're pointing out like this, cheating on him or stuff like that. Anyhow, the open letter talked about how she's a sexual assault victim, how she has done so much work for all these other Me Too victims.
I don't believe it.
I just don't know I don't know who decided to go to Terry Crews for the Terry Crews signature.
I don't get how he got involved either.
Because he's the male Me Too victim. So, all right, let's move off that. I don't think it was for anybody, but it was an open letter in the Times, which will publish.
I like how I'm completely convinced, based on factual information, that Terry Crews is completely full of shit. But I would never say that a woman, except for Amber Heard, is like totally full of shit. Like, how does he get a pass? He's a.
I don't see
what
how
he's doing is inexcusable.
It really is. I mean, Mira Sorvino, like you mentioned, she got fucked.
She got fucked over
really bad.
She didn't want to blow Weinstein, and he blackballed her.
He blackballed Ashley Judd.
Ashley
Judd probably the same thing. She was kind of a weird chick, but he actually screwed her over in terms of getting film work. But Terry Crews, absolutely no consequence other than more money and stuff for Terry Crews. I mean,
yeah, more TV appearances, more Ellen segments. I mean, we've all had a guy grab our balls as a joke. Did you ever think about going to the police?
You know what's even worse than when guys grab your balls? When the douche at the party kicks you in the nuts. That's even worse. That's even worse, by the way. There's a guy who punches people in the nuts.
Dude, I walked into the Abbey. This is probably 3 years ago, and I don't know how the gay man, the 50-year-old gay man, knew exactly where my balls were.
Yeah,
I'm assuming he was sort of an expert on this.
I'm going to say practice.
And he just cupped them.
Yes.
And winked at me.
Yes.
And I just laughed because it was so ridiculous. Did I attempt to file charges? Well, that means you're a fucking loser, man.
Yeah, of course, especially if you're in a gay bar.
It's CAA party, same fucking thing.
Yeah. So that man who grabbed your balls, you now refer to as Uncle Eddie. He lives with you, right? Sure. Why don't you have a gay sugar daddy? I always wondered about that, about you.
Well,
I knew a guy, by the way, he was straight until he was 26. He was effeminate, I'll give him that. But he was like, he had girlfriends until he was 26, 27. Met a wealthy gay guy, and all of a sudden announced that he was gay and began living with that guy and like never worked again in his life. And the gay guy was the girl of the relationship, however you put that, like cared for him day and night. And this guy would watch football. Like Sunday was like NFL football day, and his like gay partner would make cookies and bring beer and stuff like that. And he was like, I don't know. I always wonder, like, okay, dude, like, really gay for this day? But like, that stay was pretty nice.
Yeah, I've definitely known through Hollywood people, guys like that, and I think there's just a certain percentage of guys that are in survival mode.
Yes,
and just probably have low T, and they're just like, fuck it.
And I'm guessing, by the way,
I'll blow a guy once a month.
In terms of the mechanics, I'm betting he just got blown. I don't think he blew the guy. So I think he's like, close your eyes. You're getting football and cookies, and then some dude who's got like $500,000 a year coming in is like taking care of you, and you're going to spas and traveling the world.
And then you're like calling your buddy from Montana, like,
yes.
Dude, I'm totally killing it right now. Like, yes. oh, what happened? You well, here's the deal. Like, oh no, I don't think we're friends anymore.
Well, no, it was hard to respect him. Although I did respect him as a grifter, just in pure grifter mode. The fact that he was like, and by the way, he didn't have to go to like too many gay parties and stuff like that. He was like, he was a feminine guy, but he definitely liked sports, which made me wonder if he was a full.
I think it's underrated. I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but Scaramucci,
yes.
who like weirdly had this cameo
yes.
where he ran the White House.
Yes,
but his name was the Mooch.
Mm-hmm.
And like the colloquial
yes.
mooch means you're sort of sucking off the teat.
He was a weird dude.
He was the mooch.
He was only had the job for 13 days.
Yeah, he came in and was like, I'm going to lay shit down.
Yes.
And everyone was like, oh, no, you're not. But like, if that happened in like the Clinton White House, I mean, my God, that would have been the biggest story of this.
The only thing I will say for Trump is he keeps things interesting. He definitely keeps things interesting. Let's move off of that Me Too stuff. Let's talk about your favorite gay films coming up, Matt. Boy Erased. We talked about this story in a previous podcast. This is Joel Edgerton, written by, directed by, starring in. Remember, you looked up his face. He was in Star Wars. He's been made in like 80 movies. You can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, I just saw the new Star Wars. Wait, that guy is directing the movie?
He is starring in, directing, and wrote the movie based on a book. He
looks like a skinny Jack Black. I actually
he looks like a skinny Jack Black.
Enjoy his acting whatsoever.
He's a guy who's in like a million movies as like the second tier character. He can play. He's a character actor essentially. Now he's looking for his Oscar, multi Oscar. So he gets the rights to this book about written by a young man, as you pointed out, who's not a boy, a 19-year-old who's a pastor.
It's a boy toy.
Yeah, who was in college, and his father, who's a pastor, his mother, who's like, of course, confused between the love for her son and her loyalty to her pastor husband and God. Find out the boy is gay, and they send him off to gay conversion camp. I guess those still exist. I always felt that was an urban legend. I know I saw Jesus Camp, the documentary, but that was actually for believers. That was not for non-believers. It was actually just to like make kids who were Christian more Christian. It wasn't a gay conversion camp.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was just it was Jesus Camp for like young Christian teens to like become Republicans.
Well, there was a strong element of
a lot of them may be gay.
homophobia.
Yeah, for sure. But it wasn't actually a conversion camp.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This is actually a movie about they send the boy who's 19 to gay conversion camp, where of course in the movie they're beaten and they're told how worthless they are, and they're told that in fact I have a clip.
Welcome to the refuge program. You cannot be born a homosexual. This is a lie. It's a choice.
Go. Fake it till you make it. Become the man you are not. Save yourself.
Jared, God will not love you the way that you are.
Is this what you want? Who's going to strike this demon down? Hit him!
How worthless they are, how Jesus doesn't love them, how their parents don't love them, and how this is a choice they make in their life. And
I actually think this does exist, and it goes back to what we're talking about. We live in Los Angeles. You live on Mulholland.
Yes.
There are a lot of really fucking weird people out there. Only like 10 exits off the 10.
Oh, you mean in terms of religiously weird? Because around where I live, it's all the gay dudes having openly having orgies.
Yeah.
There's no gay conversion camp. Yeah, there's no gay conversion camp around here.
No, but
unless it's to make people gay.
It's I don't know. When you look at the
I understand that there is like, but this is like remember Footloose. Where the guy was Footloose, it was like the Nebraska born agains, and they didn't allow dancing in town because dancing, this was in the 80s.
Well, that's not even believable.
Was a violation of God. God didn't want dancing. And then
wasn't that the same thing with Dirty Dancing? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, same idea. And then Kevin Bacon has to come to town. He's from Chicago, the big city, and he brings dancing with him, and he's seen as a danger to the kids.
Well, it's utterly retarded in its premise.
And then
he's the only guy in town that knows how to dance.
He's the only guy in town not afraid to dance, and he loves dancing. As he teaches, there's a famous scene where he teaches Chris Penn how to dance.
Fat Chris Penn?
Yes, fat, prematurely deceased Chris Penn. Really sad. And then of course at the end he teaches the religious people that the Bible tells you should dance as his argument. Because there's passages in the Bible that talk about dancing for God's revelation.
Well, there's passages in the Bible that say you should kill all faggots too.
There are, but that was not Footloose. So in this story, I'm sure they use it. But here's a real point about Boy Erased. It's obviously just Oscar bait, right? It's just clearly Oscar bait. Is there a point in making a movie? The pastor father is going to be really tough in the beginning and come around at the end to say he loves his son and God. He would not believe in a God that wants him to hurt his son, and the mom's going to be caught between the son and the dad, and the gay conversion camp is going to be brutal.
You're absolutely right, and I hadn't thought about it. Obviously this is keeping you up at night, and you spent a lot of time like doing handwritten notes about it, but yeah, that's exactly,
it's propaganda.
How else could it go?
It's when a movie goes with a social message exactly as you know it's going to go, it's no longer a narrative. It's no longer a fictional narrative. It's just a propaganda piece, which is fine. You know, it's just to get attention for the stuff. But like, I was just wondering, like, is this a plight that we don't know about? Like, all these 19-year-olds are being sent off to gay conversion camp to be beaten over the heads by Bibles. I think some guy whacked some guy in the head with a Bible, and then of course he falls in love, and then it's like, I don't know. And this is not like set like in the 1920s. This is modern, set in the modern day. And by the way, they got Fat Russell Crowe to be the dad.
Oh, big bloated, big head Russell Crowe.
Yes,
he's doing stuff now
because they all want to be in the Oscar. But it's all Oscar buzz. And Nicole Kidman with her weirdly frozen face is the mom.
I watched. Oh shit! What's the Matthew McConaughey movie where he gets AIDS?
Dallas Buyers Club.
Dallas Buyers Club. I don't know why I watch so much TV. I just try and tune out. But
he did lose like $1 million for that role.
Okay, so when you see that movie, Jared Leto is playing a tranny, and it's like, whatever. He's not especially good or bad. But McConaughey is essentially a caricature of a bad actor. Like, he's like, fuck you, I know faggot. And you're like, who? This won an award? Yeah. Like, this is actually kind of terrible. And they went out of their way to make him straight because, you know, so many straight guys get AIDS.
Yes.
Which, unless
I was told that as a young man over and over
they're injecting drugs, they actually don't. So like McConaughey, he goes to swing at the nurse and he passes out, and like, your T cell count is like, this isn't a thing.
No,
the AIDS hasn't been introduced into the redneck population of fucking Texarkana.
No,
what are you talking about?
It was not a huge problem for the straight men of Texas necessarily.
No.
But that's the thing. So there are certain movies you make now just because. So what was the movie that won 2 years ago? Moonlight. Was it called Moonlight?
Moonlight.
It was about a gay black guy coming up.
Apparently, there's a hand job scene in the first act. I didn't watch it actually.
A gay black guy growing up in Liberty City in Miami. You know, like that's a big, like, is that a big thing? I mean, obviously there are a lot of down low gay black dudes.
Oh yeah.
But like, is that like a real? So, but it's still, let's say 1/4% of the total population of the United States, perhaps. These are not things that, like, you know, these aren't like someone, even like I saw Laverne Cox doing a big thing on transgender recently, talking about like 1/3 of Americans have never even met a transgender person before. I'm like, well, yeah, they don't live in L.A. I mean, it'd be weird if you lived in L.A. and never met a transgender person. But if you live in Lincoln, Nebraska, you probably just don't meet transgendered people because they've all moved to Los Angeles and New York, or there just aren't a lot of openly gay people in like auto shops like in Nebraska, right, where you work. It's just not a thing because if you're gay, you leave. I mean, that's what the Jews did. They don't live in Nebraska. They all moved to big cities where they can congregate and be safe. I mean,
it's definitely like a Hollywood centric thing. Like if you just like watched Netflix, you would think like 20% of people were transgendered.
I saw Boys Don't Cry. He was killed. Like Matthew Shepard was hung up on the post. You know, you're not going to be in Wyoming. You don't want to be a gay, transgendered person or any minority really in the middle of the country necessarily, a small town.
Yeah, and there's always in those movies, like I'm now thinking of Brokeback again because I watched it recently, but it's always like they're persecuted, and obviously there is a lot of discrimination. But I don't think if you're like, I'm going to wear a dress, someone like throws a fucking Molotov cocktail through your window.
No.
Like, I just don't believe that happens.
No. I think you would lose a lot of your friends pretty quickly. You probably wouldn't be able to go to the Kiwanis Club.
Possibly with good reason.
The Kiwanis Club.
Yeah.
But why would you want to, why would you, if you're a gay person, why would you not want to live in a big city? Why would you want to be like the one gay dude in town? That doesn't even make sense.
You could probably apply that just if you're a person.
Well, first of all, but also,
I mean, why would you want to live in Lincoln?
But he was a gay dude. You couldn't date anybody. Would you go on like Tinder looking for gay men in Lincoln, Nebraska? Like to be the same, it'd be you and one other guy. It'd be the same one other guy to date in the whole of city. There's nothing for you to do.
Yeah,
so at least with black guys, maybe you can find some chicks into black dudes or something like that.
Right.
If you're a gay dude, you can only date other gay dudes.
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
I have to think about these things. It's really, really horrible. So are you going to see Boy Erased? I mean, can we just admit this is just a film like Moonlight, just made for Oscar candidacy and nothing else?
I definitely will not see it unless I get really desperate and there's nothing else going on MoviePass. Although the young man the actor I do enjoy. I think he's a good actor.
He is the troubled teen in every movie of the last 3 years or so. He was in Manchester by the Sea and everything else.
And shit, what was the one about the high school girl?
Yes, he was in that too.
Short. I don't know how to say this.
He's
Saoirse Ronan.
Yes, he was.
That was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It was also a good movie. He is the troubled, potentially gay dude in every movie the last 3 years, and he does a really good job at it.
So when is he going to come out?
They just had the first trailer just came out.
No. I'm saying when is he going to come out?
Is he come out? I don't know. This would be the time, I guess, if he is gay.
Is it also a situation where he's actually like 38? But he's just he's like an AC Slater type.
It may be. Did you see Manchester by the Sea?
Yeah.
I never quite understood. I mean, I know that his dad died. I got that, and he was kind of alone. But in the movie, he was like a really successful with the girls, dude. He was on the varsity hockey team, and he was, I believe, having sex with 2 different women.
Yeah, he was a straight up G.
He was totally like, and he was so depressed. I was thinking, like, I know it sucks to lose your family, death in the family. But if you're 16 and you have 2 girlfriends and chicks and you're the captain of the varsity hockey team, you're not that upset. You're doing okay.
Well,
you get over the loss pretty well.
It's weird that like his character, I don't think they wrote it this way, but I'm like, well, this guy's clearly a sociopath because he didn't really care that his dad died.
No.
Granted, he knew it was coming,
Yes.
but still, like that. Obviously, there's going to be a couple days where you're sobbing. And,
Yes.
And no, he was just like, I just want to get pussy now.
Yes.
Like, oh, my dad's dead. That makes pussy easier. Yes. Like that was essentially his MO. I'm like,
I know, which is fine, but then he was so sad all the time. Like, really? Like, I don't know any 16-year-olds who are getting like laid by attractive girls in high school and are that sad.
There really aren't any.
No, they're really.
And if they are, they're not super smart. Like he was super witty.
Yeah.
Like the witty, lanky teenager.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait a couple years before he starts getting up in that ass. You know what I mean?
That didn't work. So go watch Boy Erased after Biceratops. I think it's going to be the best gay movie of the season. Matt, I know you like the step up dance movies.
I've not seen them.
Channing Tatum. That's where Channing Tatum got his start. They're movies were gangs.
How many executives did Channing Tatum have to fuck?
I don't know. It's where he met his future wife, though. Although they got divorced recently. It's one of those movies where the gangs have dance-offs. Mm-hmm. Like violent gangs all of a sudden break out and start dancing.
I'm never gonna watch this. It sounds insufferable.
They've made 6 of them already.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Step Up 1 through 6, I believe.
For who? Who's watching this?
Girls. There's a lot of guys like when Channing Tatum was a teenager, he was in the first one, or 19 or 20. And they get hot guys to be in these movies and hot girls, and they wear hardly any clothes and they have dance-offs. I don't know. Did you?
I don't know either.
In the 80s,
I don't even know what you're talking
Since
about.
you love the 80s, they used to make these movies with the like Electric Boogaloo, with like the black hip hop movies, where they would have the gangs would have dance-offs against each other.
Okay.
They would turn on the rap music and they would do breakdancing competitions, which I believe they actually used to have breakdancing competitions. Like they put the cardboard out. Oh, I said put the cardboard out because God knows cardboard is so much better than cement when you're spinning around. That's going to prevent you from real head injuries when you're doing flips on the ground.
I feel like those guys should have applied their talents elsewhere. Like if you can spin around on your head,
yeah.
Why are you making $4 in a jar? Like,
where would you transfer that skill to necessarily?
Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah, that's true.
Blue Man Group?
The fact that they had major feature films was pretty. A lot of them had major feature films just because they could pop and lock was pretty impressive. Because if you look at those guys like in any city center doing that, they're all really talented. So the robot guys, all those guys, it seems like a skill that could be mimicked pretty easily.
I think if you're super compact, like I was at the gym. This was a couple of years ago, but to make it a better story, yesterday. So there was a guy.
Let's just say the last time you were at the gym.
Yeah, last time, a couple of years ago. There was a guy that had, like dumbbells.
Yes.
And he was so imagine someone standing, doing a handstand on the dumbbells, upside down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then he was doing push-ups.
I've seen that. Yes.
And I was like, yeah, like you can't train me to do that.
No,
it's a different species.
My theory on guys who do that stuff, walk in the handstands with the weights and stuff like that.
They definitely don't like booze.
There's definitely no reason they should be doing that. It's not like there's a muscle group you can only work by doing that particular exercise. They clearly want attention. They clearly want to be noticed for being acrobatic and whatever else they're doing.
Well, yeah, I got that.
Like it's not like you said, it's not the Cirque du Soleil workout room. It's whatever. It's the LA Fitness 24-hour.
Dude,
fitness.
if you could do that, are you telling me you wouldn't be doing that all the time?
I don't know. I'm very self-conscious.
And there's the guy that does, like, he can hang on like a stop sign.
Yes,
and
sideways,
vertical.
Yes.
Like,
but like what the guy at the gym doing the reps with the handstand reps. Like, can't you just do the machine where you do the military press? Isn't it exactly the same thing, but less glamorous to do military press?
it did seem like obviously he was showing off, but like,
Yeah.
I still don't understand the necessity of doing the dumbbells because you're essentially, if your head hits the floor, you're like he's basically rubbing it in my face. Is what I'm saying.
I feel like no legitimate professional athlete does that. And therefore, it's a useless exercise.
Well, that's what's scary. Is I don't think your average professional athlete could do that.
No,
I don't think that. I'm trying to think of a short guy.
What is he? Is he training for the circus, or is he just trying to have ladies watch him?
I think he was trolling for some cock.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. So John Chu is a Chinese American director who did the Step Up movies. He did a couple other movies since. And you haven't heard him because his movies all suck, but they make a lot of money. Have made a lot of money, so he's out. He's one of those guys. And so I don't know if you know this, Matt, but there were 18 soccer kids in Thailand trapped in the cave for a couple weeks of harrowing experience in the cave.
Heard about it.
No one explained to me how the kids got that far into the cave before someone said man, we went they were 1.8 miles in the cave.
Yeah, I know, dude. I did't follow it that well. But when they said it's 2,000 meters, I was like, wait, did they just misspeak? 200, right? No, so now I'm just picturing 20 football fields.
Yeah,
I'm like, why were they there?
The only thing I
don't understand.
The only thing I could think. Well, so the kids. This is a part I didn't know. The kids went down by themselves after practice. The coach was not with them. The coach actually, when he found out heard they were trapped in the cave, went to go rescue them. They got trapped himself. And I've been a volunteer sports coach before. Let me tell you, there's no fucking way I'm going down to the cave to save my team. I'll be like, I'll call the police.
Wait, so did they walk or did they go through a hole and then it flooded? I don't get why they went so out of their way.
They went into this tiny cave where you have to crouch to get through it, basically. Then they got lost. And then they got lost, of course. And then the water started rising, so they couldn't go back the way they came. And they were stuck.
Dude, I'm not even claustrophobic, but if someone says follow me into this really dark corridor, I'm like, no, I don't think so.
My theory is that peer pressure must be really tremendous in Thailand. Because there's a one guy going, come on, you pussies. Who's too pussy to follow me down to the next level down?
Did Thai people actually eat Thai food all the time?
You mean, do they have lots of just pad Thai every day?
Well, I love Thai food, but yeah,
I assume they do.
I wouldn't want it every day, like a nice curry. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So they got trapped down there. They got rescued. One guy actually died, and one of the people trying to rescue them died.
Really?
Yeah, ex-Thai Navy SEAL died.
Is that the guy that Elon Musk called a pedophile?
No, different guy.
And then his rationale was that he lives in Thailand?
Yes. Well, it's not a bad rationale. My theory was that all the all the sex tourists from America were waiting outside the cave for the boys to come out because they had appointments booked. Think about those guys. You can't get your money back on your sex tourism package.
Dude, I would have been lobbying because, again, I didn't follow it that closely, but I know they rescued 4 of them, and then they had to wait a day. I would have been lobbying so hard.
To be the first one out?
I've been like, that guy tried to stab me.
Yes, let me out.
I need to go now. I'm anemic.
Do you know how narrow? And they actually had to go through passages so narrow that only one kid on his side could go through at a time. That's how narrow the rocks they were going through.
I don't understand why they did that. I don't want to sound, insensitive or culturally ignorant, but do white kids do? I had a kid, a friend of mine back home, not a friend, but a white guy. He died falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
When he was drunk.
Yeah. I always
So that
picture
sucked.
when I think about.
So I guess it's the same.
When I think about xenophobia, or if America's better, America's intelligent, more intelligent than the rest of the world, I always think about this kid in 7th grade who got his bike up into a tree branch like 15 feet off the ground, and then told everyone he was going to ride his bike along the branch and jump off the tree, and we all knew he was going to break his bones or kill himself, and we all applauded while he did it, and he did it and fell off and broke both his arms. I always think about that as like, yeah, we're no better. We're not any better than anybody else.
No.
There's always dumb kids. If
there
you're 12, you're dumb.
The Asian shit though is super weird. Like if you just watch the worst of television, so you'd have like Jerry Springer on one hand, their shit is weirder than our weird shit. Like I'll say that. I'm not being judgmental.
Well, they're probably tougher than we are. I mean, they're probably less risk averse than. I mean, American kids aren't allowed to do anything. Their parents don't let them do shit anymore.
Right.
So I can imagine Thai kids, their parents aren't like, oh, be home by 5 before whatever. They're probably not like they probably don't have helicopter parents like we have here.
Yeah, no, they don't.
I think back in the day, if you grew up this way, when you were 12, you did lots of really fucking stupid shit. Especially when your parents didn't know what was going on or didn't care where you were.
Dude, I had a friend, we were driving, we were probably 16. And so we're obviously driving the car as fast as possible. I was in the passenger seat. He got up on top of the car, and then you know how a sunroof has like a ridge, obviously?
Yes.
He Supermaned on the highway while going 90 miles an hour.
Yes.
And that wasn't even an isolated incident. Like you would routinely see teenagers riding on top of cars in Fairbanks.
There's definitely a Darwinian aspect to being a teenage boy. Where like most of the people who die are supposed to die, like it really it's the guys who do the drugs, right? Try hard drugs, or are bad drive. Really, the kid who drives 100 miles an hour on the road.
Yeah, and then almost kills 3 of your friends.
Yeah,
I know that guy.
It's pretty much the guys who are not risk averse who die, and it just seems like a very Darwinian process to me. But so these Thai kids they rescued. None of them died. The diver did die. They got out. It was watched around the world. The kids were invited to the World Cup finals. By Russia. Russia's not so bad.
Russia's always up to something.
Yeah, they are.
Well, nice diplomacy.
I love the fact we need a 15-month long investigation to let you know that Boris Badenov from Bullwinkle was a bad guy. Like the Russians are up to no good. Like when have the Russians not been up to no good? They've been up to no good since like the 19th century.
Well, they obviously have incriminating evidence on Trump.
Oh, yeah, whatever they have.
But
I mean, like,
that's another discussion.
I got the fact they indicted. Did you realize that Russian intelligence guys were trying to do shit against us since forever? All right, so this guy John Chu. Immediately, once the kids were rescued, Hollywood went over to Thailand and tried to buy the rights from every single kid and coach and rescuer available to make a Disney movie about the Thai rescue.
Like they had them like sign waivers and shit?
Buy life rights, yeah. So you can, yes,
that's
right.
So opportunistic.
It is. I feel like it's opportunistic, but I also feel like if you're like a Thai family, your kid just got out of the cave, and then you got $500,000 in Disney, you're probably okay. You're like, oh, okay.
You're like, I'll give you $80.
Yes.
Like fantastic.
Yes, we'll take it.
Let's do it.
We'll take it. And so because the only way to get the story is to get the life rights that can't be resold to somebody else, because obviously anyone can cover the story. But if you have the story as told by the kids who are trapped in the cave, you got the real movie. So John Chu, this director, came out and said, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever. Hollywood's going to whitewash this story." He wasn't very specific about that, but I think what he meant was, in my mind, I'm picturing Mark Wahlberg as like a new character in the Thai rescue. It's
gotta be Mark Wahlberg.
It's gotta be Wahlberg going down like the Thai people don't know what's going on. They don't know how to rescue the kids. Wahlberg's like an ex-military spelunker, cave diver experts. They bring him in. He comes in with his ripped muscles off the helicopter.
Isn't it weird that Mark Wahlberg is legit like a terrible actor?
Just horrible actor.
Like a distractingly hard to watch actor, but he's in like every fucking movie.
Yeah. Did you see him in the J. Paul Getty movie?
Yes.
He was horrible. I mean, he's just such a bad...
It was actually a good movie apart from him.
Yeah, I did not for a sec... When he plays like a guy who's intelligent, there's never a moment when I believe he's intelligent. Like he plays a dumb Southie really well. Like in that boxing movie where he's a dumb Southie boxer.
Well, look, I think if you were a foreigner, you would think Boston was, a population of like 800 million people because every fucking movie is set in Boston, where in fact it's a third tier city.
In South Boston. Everyone's
yes,
Irish and
yes,
stupid and drunk.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're all Irish. Yeah.
Yes. But he plays that character. He does. He plays where he's from well, but that's it. That's the only
His
thing.
hair is weird.
Yes.
I don't.
Oh, he's on the Jew. He's on the Jews
I don't
too.
like him.
Yes.
Like I was watching what movie was it? Like Joaquin Phoenix, I think is a good actor.
I love
So like
him.
even
Yeah.
if the movie blows, I'm
Yeah.
I'll just like watch what he's doing. Mark Wahlberg, I have the opposite reaction.
Yes.
I'm like, I just hate him and his weird straight hair that has like bangs and his obviously like pumped up fucking biceps that no person actually looks like that. Like, I don't like him.
No, I
Nor do I
understand.
trust him.
So that's what John Chu is worried about. That Mark Wahlberg's be written in as American GI hero who comes to rescue the Thai kids, because Disney or Paramount can't sell a movie in the Western world when it's all about Thai people speaking in Thai.
Apparently, sorry, one quick interjection.
Yes.
I don't mean to derail your thing, but so did you see that Andy Samberg? This is like a long time ago where he did a sketch on SNL and it was like Mark Wahlberg talks to animals. And he's
Yes.
like, I'm going to
Yes.
talk to this goat.
Yes, yes.
And it was weird but pretty funny.
Yes.
And apparently Mark Wahlberg got pissed about it, which just shows you that he's probably thinks he's an idiot, because why would you care? Because it's super nonsensical, but you can actually picture Mark Wahlberg talking to a goat. Which is what makes it funny.
He seems like an okay. Outside of times he was racially beating up people as a teenager with 2x4s in Boston.
Well, I've never committed a hate crime.
No.
I don't know.
But I don't blame him horribly for where he grew up, which was a shitty racist area. So I don't blame him for being like everyone else around him so much. I think he got over it.
Nah.
I mean, he hasn't beaten up anybody as an adult.
No, I'd blame him. I mean, I grew up in a fairly tough town, and I never hurled racial slurs at someone. And
Yeah,
beat
I guess
them
if
up.
like you have 20 friends and 19 of them are chasing the Vietnamese out with sticks, you might be prone to join in.
Well, no,
I
I feel
know.
like he was. There's
He's
not
dumb.
a long history of Vietnamese anti-sentiment in the Boston area.
Well,
that's
that's
not a thing. That's just him being a racist piece of shit.
He was a piece of shit. So he's going to be he'll be in the Paramount because, by the way, he is the highest paid actor in the entire world now.
What the fuck is his hair?
I don't know.
It's like black. It's weird.
Well,
Anyway.
you're talking about the HGH guys. It's steroids does crazy shit to your hair. It falls out, so he's got some fake hair.
Well, that doesn't mean you have to style your hair in a fucking fucked up
You
way.
ever see,
Like,
like,
if
those-
you have fake hair, you may as well,
I don't know. You ever see those like Bosley hair commercials? They all look the same. The guys all look the same. They all like, I got my natural hair back. I'm like, how come your natural hair looks like the other 10 guys' natural hair? That doesn't make any sense. You all have the same natural looking hair, exactly the same.
They're always concerned about going in the pool too.
Yeah.
It's like,
Now they always have the hot girl putting her hand through their hair. Like that's going to be a thing. Like I really missed this. Like that's what I missed the most. So John Chu is insisting he's going to do his own Thai cave rescue movie.
A Chinaman.
He is a yes. He's referred
Chinese
to as,
man.
He's referred Chinese American.
I don't know why that's derogative, by the way.
Chinaman.
Irishman, no big deal.
I think it's only because people said that before they used to beat people up in race riots. So that's exactly why.
Well then.
But he's going to do his own. He's pitching his own Thai rescue movie that's going to be very authentic to the. He didn't say Thai experience, to the Asian experience, because he's actually not Thai. So he's Chinese, which I think we talked about this with that Scarlett Johansson, that Japanese anime movie, Ghost in the Shell. And there was a character in there who was specifically supposed to be Japanese and a white guy playing them. And so he dropped out, and they hired the guy, Daniel Kim, I think his name was, from Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
Who's Korean,
Yeah.
but they said since he was Korean, he could play Japanese, but a white guy couldn't play Japanese.
See, I'd give you some like leeway. So like Vietnam and Cambodia, obviously, border
Similar,
each other.
yes.
But like Thailand, and I don't know how they probably don't call it Thailand in Thailand, but that's like an island that's sort of like pretty far removed from.
Well, it's near China. It's near China. I mean, I think they would probably have
it's
like
got to be at 300
relatives.
miles.
But it's like a country of like 90 million people. That's not China. It's not like a little tiny place surrounded by China. It's its own country. But the point is, I think what he's saying is that like Asians can understand Asians better, and only Asians can portray Asians, even if they're not really Thai. So my question is, how authentic is it if you're just swapping? If Asians can be swapped around.
I don't know. Honestly, I've never had a lot of Asian friends. Asian women do not like me. I don't know why.
Is it because you say Chinaman a lot? China woman? Hey, China woman.
I did a good friend of mine was Chinese.
Look at you, multicultural.
By heritage. Yes, thank you. Roommate in college. He hated Japanese people.
They're mortal enemies.
He was like real pissed about shit that went down like 1,000 years ago.
What about World War II? The Japanese used the Koreans. So Kim was Korean. They used the Koreans as sex slaves. They took all the women to be the sex slaves for their Japanese mill army. So because not just because they hated the Koreans, but because there was a myth that the Korean women were better in bed, provided better sexual services.
Is that true?
I don't know. So they grabbed like a couple tens of thousands of Korean women and brought them to be sex slaves for the Japanese soldiers. So
the fact that this country pretends to be progressive, and it wasn't that long ago that we actually rounded up all of the Japanese people in the country and sent them to camps. And for some reason, they're not angry about it. Because like if my dad was George Takai, and I was sent to an army base with barbed wire fences, I don't think I think I would be talking shit constantly.
My theory on that is that Japanese Americans have done very well economically, and therefore there's less like there's less talk about like the past only because they've done so well economically, educationally, economically. So it's different than like the black community for slavery, where like the racism continues to this day, and so they're still like struggling from it. Whereas like Japanese Americans actually did very well for themselves before and after that. So it was definitely a blight, but it wasn't like something that set them back 100 years in terms of economic progress. So I can see why Takai is like, well, I was Star Trek and now I got, hot male model boyfriend. So like I can only complain so much because I'm doing really well.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of historical discrimination against, comparatively to other groups. I was just in Palm Springs, and a good friend of mine is a teacher in Palm Springs, and his lease, he showed it to me. It says you can't have goats or chickens in the yard, and it literally says
like Chinese people,
no brown people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Like brown, the word brown. So it's like wide open. So it's like they really expanded the definition of like it could be.
Well, they didn't mean Japanese people. I know that.
But it could be Latino. It could be it could be Indians.
They don't want any of that.
No. Wow.
Obviously, they probably just reprinted it. Like you can obviously probably rent a place there if you want.
I'm sure that's illegal to this. It's illegal.
But it's fucked up because that wasn't that long ago. I mean, the fact that document still exists is blows my fucking mind.
Donald Sterling, the Clippers owner, until a few years ago, was sued by all the people for not renting to black people in Los Angeles in the 90s.
Yeah, well, he had actually conspired to not to discriminate.
No, it's definitely historical, but you're
and
right.
He was into black chicks, which is weird.
But I don't think you see the anti-Asian stuff. I think you're right. I don't think you see that as much.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, also I noticed I did some studies on intermarriage for some story to talk about, and actually there's more white Asian intermarriages than any other intermarriage in the United States. So Hispanic is second. There's relatively little white and black intermarriage in the United States.
You never see a white guy with a black wife. That's pretty rare.
Correct. But a lot of the guys, if you know LA, have Asian wives. Mm-hmm. It's very common. In fact, if you go to the Jewish temples, there's a lot of Asian kids there now because they have Jewish husbands and Asian thing has become a big thing.
I had a friend that was an Eskimo.
Yeah. Don't you mean Inuit, Matt?
No, that's not what they prefer to be called.
Eskimos?
Eskimo.
Like the pie?
Well, Eskimo that's what they call themselves.
Really?
This isn't fucking Vancouver. So his dad was a Jewish guy from New York.
Yeah.
Somehow he moved to the middle of Alaska.
Yeah.
I.e., like, he's into some weird shit.
Yeah.
Probably running away from something. So my friend showed me a photo of him at his bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking funny to me because he looks very Eskimo. He's half white, but
darker featured.
You've never seen an Eskimo wearing a yarmulke.
I'm still waiting for the big tall black dude to be wearing the yarmulke for and doing like a bar mitzvah.
Amari Stoudemire, I think.
Well, but he converted. Those are converts. Those guys weren't raised Jewish. That was just one of their weird things.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Jesse, did you have a bar mitzvah?
He did, but he's a short Jew.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. That's why we'll never win in sports. We got an email from Amy about transgender. Matt, this is a thing near and dear to your heart, transgender people. So, Scarlett Johansson was supposed to be in this movie, Rub and Tug. It's going to be the movie with the great title that's the worst movie ever. Like, it's going to be so disappointing if you go based on title to see that movie.
It's the type of movie that I would probably go see based on the title.
Yes.
And like, this is not what I expected.
No, not at all. It's about this butch lesbian in Pittsburgh in the 70s who ran massage parlors and also supplied the town of Pittsburgh, I guess, all the football players and so forth with the steroids. So she, the lesbian, was also the steroid king of Pittsburgh. It seems like an interesting story. Therefore, it was a guy be played by Johnny Depp. But it turned out that after this person died, somebody went back and read her diary, her diary entries, and found out that she really identified as a man.
She had a penis.
No, she didn't have a penis.
She had a vagina.
Yeah, she had a vagina.
I'm gonna go.
But she thought of herself as a man, and therefore retroactively, because transgender was not a thing in the 70s, she is a transgendered man.
It was a thing. There was a tennis player that dominated the guy with a dick.
Yeah, there was, but the idea of being transgender without sex reassignment was not a thing. There was no protected class of transgendered back then.
Okay.
And so therefore, now that we know that this real life woman was actually a transgendered man, only a transgendered man could portray this portray this character. And Scarlett Johansson, who was picked to portray him, even though she looks like a butch, had to drop out of the movie. Didn't have to, but chose under pressure to drop out of the movie because she's cisgendered, and therefore she should not be portraying a transgendered person.
So did they cast a...
They haven't cast anybody, because who the fuck are they going to find to be in a major motion picture that can carry box office?
I would argue Scarlett Johansson is close enough. I mean, that is a very... sexually ambiguous type of person.
But she was not picked because she's a great actress. She was picked because she's in the fucking Avengers, and she carries box office. She has box office weight behind her.
Well,
they're making another.
And I'm sure that whoever was in charge of producing the film they didn't cast Margot Robbie. They cast sort of a butch.
Yes,
essentially. I'm pretty sure she's a lesbian.
Well, it has to be an actress willing to play a butch lesbian on screen. So there's that. You have to cut your hair and be act like a dude.
You don't want to. Well, Robbie did Tanya Harding.
Yeah, she was great. I loved her in that movie, by the way. I thought she did a really good job. Speaking of butchy women.
I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I can't believe the guy's name was Jaluli.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
By the way, Allison Janney was genius in that movie as the mom.
Yeah, she was
so abusive at every turn.
But dude, I think they were probably hedging their bets a little bit. Like, well, we're not, it's close enough. Like, she's a lesbian. She's a chick with a deep voice and short hair. Like, what the fuck else are we supposed to do?
And massive quads. But here's the real thing. So Hollywood put out there's a clip we have at the beginning of the show where from this Hollywood transgender actors who 90% of them seem to be on the show Transparent. I'm not sure the rest are. Put out a thank you video to Scarlett Johansson for seeing the light and dropping out of this thing.
Oh, because that's not self-serving whatsoever. No.
But here's the email.
They're all just trying to get the part.
Here's a point I think Amy makes in her email, which is actually smart, which is like if we're saying now that we've done this with race and everything else, if only transgendered actors can play transgender characters in the movie because that's authentic to their gender, that therefore means that transgender people cannot play cisgender characters in movies because that's inauthentic. And isn't that 99% of the roles out there? So aren't trans people like screwing themselves out of being cast in pretty much every single other movie out there?
Dude, the entire argument is completely retarded. There's such a fallacy in terms of if it's beneficial to you, like, like you said, like any Asian, essentially, a yellow man, which I never figured out because they don't even look yellow to me.
You're sticking with yellow man?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying when it's yellow.
My grandfather used to call every Asian person Charlie. Just throwing that out there.
Was he in Vietnam?
He was too old for Vietnam. This is way before Vietnam. I think it's from I think it was from Charlie Chan. From Charlie Chan movies in the old days.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I think he was a white guy
that's
too.
where
Right?
that came from.
Yeah, so he would call it, and it was a very nice guy, very nice gentleman. He didn't mean anything by it, but just instead of learning Asian names, he just called everyone Charlie.
Shit, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Sorry, I throw a razor. Yellow man. You're yellow. You call Asian people yellow.
Oh, so I mostly like I have dual citizenship in Ireland. My dad is Irish. I don't care about that very much, but no one would give a shit if I played a Swedish guy, right?
Nope.
That wouldn't even, and for good reason. Like no one would even think for that to be a question. So why is it different? It's racist.
Well,
honestly.
I would say it would be kind of ridiculous. So remember Joseph Fiennes, Ray Fiennes, one of them was playing Michael Jackson in the movie. Ralph Fiennes was playing Michael Jackson in that weird movie with Elizabeth Taylor and stuff like that. It was a white guy, and they got so upset they couldn't air the TV show. Even though Michael Jackson had pale skin, he was African American. He bleached his skin.
Well, you can't find a black guy that's white.
No. But I could have put makeup on or whatever. But I could see if you were going to play like a black basketball biopic, I could see how that would be weird if you had a white actor playing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar story. That would just, no matter how good an actor he was, that would be weird. Because you would know, no matter how much makeup they put on him, it was like a Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. You would know that it was like a white guy playing a black guy.
I was thinking about that the other day. I think the reason the type of asshole, like fucking douchebag that writes letters and gets offended by shit, even though they're probably not, I think with Tropic Thunder, they're like, nah, it's funny.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of funny. Because there is no rhyme or reason to why these fucking douchebags weren't offended.
No.
But they were just like, well,
it was funny.
Just call, give us a spade here.
But it's like, look, I mean, you can't, if the transgender person looks like cisgender, they can play that. If they look, everyone looks differently in the movies anyhow. It is idiotic. Now, I saw Laverne Cox, who apparently speaks for every transgender person everywhere. So, which I think kind of sucks for Laverne Cox because you get called for every transgender story ever to comment on it. At some point, you're probably like, fuck, can you find another tranny out there?
Well, she seems more than willing to participate.
She's open. Well, it's good for her career. The reason is not because transgender need to play transgender. It's because it's very hard as a transgender actor to get hired into any roles. And therefore, the very rare movie where you do have a transgender character should be portrayed by a transgender actor.
Why?
What do you think about that? I don't know.
I mean, how about we just see who auditions the best? I mean,
I think she's saying he is saying, I can't get hired to play a female hero in an action movie. Therefore, I can only get hired to play the transgendered character in a movie.
Well, then that would seem to fly in the face of your entire thesis, which is you're just a woman, which we all know is not true.
No,
let's be honest. When you look at someone who's trans,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's a guy.
Yeah.
Or
I was kind of fooled in the crying game. I'll give you that. I was kind of fooled in the crying game.
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. When whatever that actor, the tranny actor, the whole theater screamed.
Well, if you were going down on him, I guarantee you'd know the difference.
Yeah, Ray. It was the most effeminate guy, like weighed about 80 pounds, twink. And when he pulled off his robe and then there was a dick there, the entire audience screamed. So and then they have the character. I forget the actor's name. The Irish actor goes and vomits in the movie. He vomits because he was just having sex with her, about to have sex with her. Which they based that Pet Detective scene with Jim Carrey with the plunger on his face off.
Right.
When he's like,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he's so grossed out.
That was a funny scene.
He was so homophobic. He was so grossed out.
How was Dan Marino in that movie? Under discussed, made no sense.
No, they probably had some cameos. But here's the point. So yes,
it wasn't a cameo. He was like a legitimate.
He was a character,
integral character in
the movie. He was kidnapped.
Anyway,
I understand like the sort of point where they're coming from. If it was like a black person saying, "How can you have a biopic of a black person and use a white actor?" I would kind of say, "Yeah, I kind of get that." But this is such a thing where like there's no difference here. If you're a woman, if you're a trans man or trans woman, you've got to be a man or woman gender-wise, and therefore you got to cut it in that field. Or
it would be such a ridiculous discussion if it weren't acting.
Yes.
The whole point is that you're pretending to be a different person.
Yes.
So, like, if you're like, well, the spokesman for the trans lobby, like, okay, that should probably be a trans.
So, like, if you're Rachel Dolezal and you're the NAACP leader for the Northwestern District, and it turns out you grew up as a white person in Idaho,
Yeah, not cool.
Yes.
Not too cool.
No. But I want you to watch the entire thank you video. Maybe you'll feel differently because they were very heartfelt.
It's not going to happen.
So I like how, also by the way, the premise of all their thank yous are all like, thank you for coming around to the right understanding and not being an ass. So we appreciate, like you should all know this. So I appreciate the fact that you had to learn to be the right way of thinking.
Yeah.
Which is not a great apology. But
I don't really have the time, but if I was actually following this the way you are,
Yes.
I would just self-publish a video called "Fuck Off," and I'd be like, "Why don't you suck my fucking dick?
Fuck off, tranny.
fucking cunt." But
all right, Matt, save your anger. We have our final segment for Pennies in a Bunch for Patreon only customers. By the way, everyone loves these Pennies in a Bunch segment on Patreon.
I've heard.
I think Vladimir Putin has signed up. There's some other people have signed up. By the way, do you think Putin has fucked Melania before? I was thinking about that the other day.
I'm sure he's fucked one of her cousins.
Yes. Do you think he was an escort for him like in the 90s? How awkward that would be.
Do you think there's actually, because I'm kind of not buying it at this point, but the dossier, the Steele dossier,
the Trump getting pissed on in Moscow.
Yeah. Do you think there's actually a P tape? I don't think so. I think it's a lot more severe than that.
I
think that's it's like.
I thought about this a long time, as I do. I don't think Trump is a guy who likes the dirty works. I get the feeling he's not that. I think he's more of a.
He obviously has a micro penis.
Yeah, but I think if a guy hires porn stars like Stormy Daniels is not the same guy who gets the anorexic girls to pee on each other.
I agree. I think it's like a red herring. I think what Putin actually has is something a lot more damning than a P tape. I think it's actual documents showing that he embezzled a lot of money.
Yeah, it's possible. I mostly, when I see things like that, I mostly think about, has Putin fucked Melania before, and is it really awkward when they meet? Because when your wife was a former escort, every powerful guy you meet, you have to go did you it's just kind of odd.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean,
do you remember Boogie? What's his name's character in Boogie Nights? The guy from Shameless.
William H. Macy.
Yeah, but he keeps seeing his wife having sex with other guys.
Well, I really hate the fact, I have to be sort of honest with myself. I know that every girl I meet is not a virgin, so that just means some weird guy had his balls slapping against her taint, and that's gross. But at least you can kind of pretend. When your wife is a hooker,
yeah,
you can't even pretend.
Especially a hooker to more famous people you'd see on TV all the time, or you'd run into at parties and stuff. That's really awkward. I mean, just if you're dating a girl, you run into the ex-boyfriend. That's awkward.
Yeah.
But if it's 10 guys at the whatever the Oscars have all been with her, that's really then you go William H. Macy with the gun. Then it's really fucking awkward.
Yeah.
So you make up for it. All right, that's our show for today. Matt, you got something you're selling. What are you selling about yourself? Be like one of these transgendered actors. What are you selling about yourself?
I don't know. I don't have a lot going on. I'm still. I realize that I don't have that many good ideas, and so I'm kind of running low. But I am still very concerned about the pound for pound thing because logically it just makes no sense to me.
Why don't you start a boxing league? There was an LA boxing league, by the way, a few years ago. It collapsed, of course. They always do. Why don't you start a boxing league where it's open weight? No, not by weight category. Would it be bare knuckle or with gloves?
Dude, I would say, well, you can't poke people in the eye.
Yes.
And fish hooking, which I didn't even know was a thing, but I looked it up, and it's obviously prying someone's mouth open.
What about rabbit punching?
I don't know what that is.
When you hit in the back of the head.
You can't do that? Yeah, I would say all that should be legal. I mean, if we're really going extreme.
No, legitimate boxing with rules and stuff and a referee, but open weight category. Like you would see, what's his name? The guy fought in the backyard fighting, Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, there was no weight category for Kimbo Slice. It was
no, he was the toughest guy.
But he did weigh 230 pounds. I mean, he was a big dude.
Well, dude, the fucked up thing is UFC, the Dana White, is that UFC? Is that what it's called? Yeah. UFC. They have a heavyweight category, but if you're over 270 pounds,
yes,
you can't fight.
Really?
Yeah, you're not allowed. You have to cut weight to get to that.
But how many guys are over 270 pounds that are in shape?
I bet you there's a fucking 300-pound guy that could beat the shit out of both of us.
What does Brock Lesnar weigh? He's huge, dude.
270.
Does he?
269 and a half. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the essential problem with your thing is you then have guys can't fight fairly. If one guy's 270 and one guy's 140, they can't fight evenly. They can't fight in the same style because the guy who was 270 would destroy him in a stand-up punching fest.
Which is the entire thesis of the point of your sport. The toughest guy wins.
But then you'd have the little guy doing that Muay Thai shit where he's like running around in circles.
So you're saying it would just get boring?
I would say it would be boring, yes. Because would it be a knockout to win or would it be scored on points?
Well,
because the little guy would just do his little fucking jabs and run around in circles around the big guy.
I don't know if boxing had that stipulation because Lennox Lewis, I mean, that guy must have weighed close to 300 pounds. I mean, he was a big-ass guy. Dude. But he was boring too because he would just jab. I
don't think boxing heavyweight has a weight limit because when you're fat you just can't do anything in boxing. You can't move.
I just want to see. Look, I'm not saying that.
What about like 160? What about like 160 to 210 as a weight category?
I mean, like bar fight, sure. Like call it something reasonable, like
a middleweiite versus a heavyweight would make sense. But like these featherweight guys who are like the little Latino guys who are like 5'6" and 130. They could never take on a big guy.
Well, ever. Dude, I was having the conversation. So I weigh like 205 pounds. I could probably lose, 5 or 10 pounds easily. But I was sort of joking, and I was with a bunch of guys that really follow MMA.
Yeah.
We were watching one of the pay-per-views, and I was like, we were watching like the Ultra Feather whatever.
Yes.
I was like, I could beat that guy's ass. And I was sort of just talking shit, and they were like, oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah?
I was like, wait, are you serious?
Well, they're little guys. So always that martial arts guy who, like, if you've ever been to martial arts class, I went to a Aikido class like a long time ago, and they always find the martial arts teacher's always like 5'6", and they always find the biggest guy in the class to show how like they can take down a guy of any size.
Right.
So if you happen to be the biggest guy in class, which I'm sure you've been in many situations, they always have to demonstrate how size doesn't matter in these classes. And they'll do some weird shit to you and like crack your wrist.
Yeah, like take the guy's legs out.
Yes. So you're always getting beat up over and over again. But then when they break up in groups where you have a smaller person you're sparring with, they can never do anything to you. Because unless you're like a quadruple black belt with 30 years of training, it doesn't matter. The bigger guy always wins.
Dude, I am so fascinated by the Bruce Lee thing. Like, I talk to reasonably intelligent people, and they're like, Bruce Lee was like the toughest man ever. And I'm like, that was a movie, right? Like, yeah, like he was trained in karate, I think, or
he beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
martial arts.
Yes,
like he also weighed like 98 pounds.
Yes, he was tired.
Like, I'm not saying he could kick my ass for sure, but
he could keep kicking you over and over again. I'm not sure what the effect would be. Like, I don't think he could just knock you out.
You don't think Mike Tyson would beat the ever-loving shit out of Bruce Lee?
I think that Mike Tyson would have trouble landing blows cleanly.
He only needs one.
That's what I'm saying. But I think Bruce Lee could kick him over and over again. I'm not sure what would happen. But like that's why in terms of points, he would beat him on points every single time.
No, I'm talking street fight to the death.
Yeah. Kimbo Slice did not lose to a lot of little guys. They're all big fucking truck drivers because those guys, if you look how much the meter where they punch the thing, they're so much stronger than the small guys.
Yeah.
Their force of their blows are so much stronger, and they can absorb more blows because they're bigger. So you hit them in the stomach, and they have a lot more padding between their ribs. So you can't really hurt them. So it doesn't make any sense. But I think you should do it. Do a boxing league, no weight boxing league. You can have gloves. It doesn't really matter. But no kicking. I don't like the kicking.
I like guys like Kimbo Slice. Like, so if you're just like, let's say you're in Vegas and you're like, I'm just gonna bet on this fighter because he looks mean.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, you're wrong.
Yes.
It's like the nerdy guy that beats the shit out of that guy. But Kimbo Slice, you're like, that guy looks really tough.
Yes.
And
he looks like the bad guy in every movie where they have a bad black guy.
If that guy cut in line in front of me, I'd be like,
whatever. Dude.
Go ahead, man. Sure. No problem.
All right, it's Last Men on Earth. Go to patreon.com/Last Men on Earth. Sign up. We have like 3-4 categories now. There's all sorts of good stuff you can get on there, including the Matt Reach. No one signed up for the Matt Reach around yet, Matt. I'll let you know when that happens. You can choose photos. Talk to you next week.